Hello and welcome to a casted game. I am Renegade Moose, and today I have a tournament match for you in kind of a unique challenge I found myself in as the Tomb Kings. Call Brendan Fraser because the mummy has returned once again. DJ Kotep, as he's known in the community, Grand Hierophant Kotep, is going to be leading these two giant, beautiful monsters for the tomb. Really cool models up here on the back. You got some archers, skeleton archers following behind the undead here. Basically, Egyptian mummies, if you turn them into a fantasy faction. That's what these guys are. Some skeleton horse archers leading the way here, and a very cool bone giant. This is long range artillery piece, shooting giant shafts, laying down the big shafts on his opponents. He'll be coming up along with the guys and gals. My opponent, Hobo Honkers, a very good opponent for a very good clan, the Rat Clan. That's what that little tag there is for. Is going to be playing Words of Chaos, taking Valkia the Bloody, if we can zoom up to her. Very cool model here, kind of a Valkyrie in Norse mythology, but from hell, I guess you could kind of say. Leading the way, she is an anti-large fighter. By that, I mean if you go to weapon strength, you can see that bonus versus large. That adds to the melee attack and weapon strength. So very good into my large monsters over here. My opponent bringing up a pretty cool little grouping here. Chaos Armored Trolls, the big bad beaters of the army for Wars of Chaos. These Chaos Warrior Halberds leading the way. And then a Chaos Shrine of Nurgle, which is a very cool model and is a very cool effect for a blob like this. The Favor of Ruinous Powers for leadership, and Giver of Abundant Glory. That's going to increase healing when models die from either faction on either side. I'm going to move up and take the middle here, and over on this objective, going to start going straight into melee. I mentioned melee a lot so far as a challenge for the Tomb Kings. They are primarily a shooting faction, I would say. You have Ushopti Great Bows, which are a good long-range artillery piece, Screaming Skull catapults, kind of this devastating firepower the Tomb Kings love to do in open field battles with a big array of chaff skeleton infantry to kind of tie up the enemy. But a map like this, Celestial Lake, a community-created map by one of our lovely map creators in the community, it's very cool that we have a community that with not only tournaments being hosted all the time, but people making cool maps like this. I mean, look at this. This wasn't made by Creative Assembly. This was a person. It took time out of their day. And it's not easy. I have looked into it. Map creation is not something that's simple to do. So really cool that they were able to do this. But anyways, a map like this that's kind of narrow with lots of tree cover makes it very challenging to do shooting. So you kind of have to get down there and get down and dirty and bump and grind. So, of course, anyone familiar with the community will know the Khemrian War Sphinx is great in melee. Already these two big monsters routing off a Marauder, just a cheap chaff unit, so my opponent won't mind too much. And these halberds, which I landed a nice skull storm from Kotep doing good damage here, but I'm going to have to pull back for now. Pulling back to kind of deal with Valkia, she is going after the Bone Giant, but the Bone Giant has an immense amount of HP, so it doesn't really care. And you can see it can still shoot even while engaged in melee. So unlike Chosen of the Gods, the unique Ushopti Greatbow unit, I'm not going to have to protect this guy from Valkia, and he does shoot at the lion there. So one downside to having only one big shaft to shoot. Nice. What is the name of that ability again? Spear of Sleipnir on the Tomb Guard Halberds. Over half P taken. That is the challenge with elite infantry in this game. But this is kind of my melee solution for the Tomb Kings. Normally, you would see skeleton spearmen, skeleton swordsmen, really cheap, maybe Nekakara warriors, cheap infantry that kind of tie up opponents while the shooting does the work. But here, I've taken the most elite basic, kind of a contradiction right there, but the most elite unit for the Tomb Kings, besides their Regimental Renown unit, their special unit, in melee, these guys have good armor piercing values. They have anti-large, so they'll trade well into Chaos Warriors. They actually have better combat stats than the Chaos Warrior Halberds on the opposing side. They'll do okay into Forsaken and Armored Infantry unit, and they'll do really well if they get on top trolls. But I'm going to put some Ushopti. These are the not great bow version. These are the melee version with their swords. On top of some halberds to protect the Ushopti from the halberds. These Ushopti will then do bonus first infantry damage into the halberds, which will be really nice. So I'm thinking I can get a nice grind going into my opponent. And I saw objective 3 here with my opponent's terrifying blob of healing. And I said, you know what? No thanks. We're going to go over here, see what damage we can do. Maybe we can get some good trading, hopefully get this objective, and get the party started. Usurian's going down on the Hellstriders. That's going to do nice damage. My opponent bringing in some throwing axes, a really good counter to these big monsters. But my Bone Giant has been putting down some good solid damage, kind of arcing its shots over the hill into these guys, keeping them honest. And I have some carrion flying overhead, ready to dive when I get the chance. A lot of damage going into these Hellstriders. I see a chance to charge my big monsters in. Kind of wherever these two big creatures go, I'm going to get some good damage. Cool. God, this is a cool looking game. Sending them and my Ushopti in. Just trying to overwhelm these guys. And you can see getting a rout on them from all that damage coming in. Sending a Skull Storm down. Trying to just get some units in general. Looks like it was a bit of a miss. Trolls coming in to provide the mass to push me off. And yes, my opponent did see that this objective wasn't going so well. So it was going to pull some halberds and trolls over. Looks like they are leaving some trolls and halberds to kind of hold that position. But I am avoiding that shrine with its healing effect and doing some nice fighting on this side. The halberds have gotten in, and it's going to be a good fight for them on opposing halberds, which I believe have lower combat stats, and these trolls. And it's just an overwhelming amount of value from myself. Big Sphinx here getting his fire damage attacks, which does have a bonus versus trolls. They have a weakness to fire. So Big Dog is going to get some serious damage in here and push them away. Here in the melee ground, we're getting routes, terror routes on these halberds. These Hellstriders getting onto my skeleton horse archers, which they'll do nicely into. But the Tomb Guard do hold the line. Looks like they're attacking the wrong thing at the moment, but they will do good damage. Going to drop a Usurians, try and slow down these halberds, get some poke in. Value is higher for my opponent at the moment, and they still to hold 2 objectives. So the timing, the pressure of time is on me at the moment. Oh, sick animation. I don't know if you saw that. Just threw a guy into the air to chop him in half. Trying to get some more halberds and Ushopti up here, just pouring on the elite Tomb Kings units. Valkia still going after this Bow Giant. But it looks like the Bow Giant, it's like a fly buzzing around his head. He doesn't really care. Getting some, looks like some good damage, shooting off into units over here. Not sure what he's shooting at the moment. Trolls getting routed again. Hellstriders getting routed again. But my big monsters are starting to take some damage. You can see the Cambrian War Sphinx is getting worn down. This Sphinx of Usvex is tied up by trolls and halberds. Going to take a lot of damage there. That's going to add up over time. Could be a problem for me because this guy's expensive. Ooh, Skull Storm. The bound ability for Kotep, really good ability, goes through those halberds, does some nice damage. Hellstriders going into Ushopti, I think Hellstriders would win that on their own, but with all the support, these Hellstriders are going to get beaten up pretty good. Halberds over here looks like they might have taken some shots from the Bone Giant. I've called in some cavalry, some more halberds, and my opponent is going to have to pull back with their sorcerer, halberds, and trolls. Looks like they just want to make sure they get the home objective back and then maybe can retake the middle objective later on. They do have a points lead, so they have some time to work with. Things are going really well on objective 1, though, but my opponent does have my monsters quite low, especially the Sphinx of Usvex. If he goes down, that could be really bad for me. Great, I can't remember the name of that spell, but nice wind spell on those halberds, going to do some solid damage. Those halberds who took that giant Slopnir attack from Valkia earlier are still doing pretty well. They still got a lot of models. They're still getting in there and fighting the good fight. You could see the trolls carry on coming in to do some support. And now the shrine is in. I think it might have been a mistake to not bring it in a little earlier, start getting that healing going. You can see it's quite low. The intensity there tracks it. So as that builds up, it's really going to make these Warriors of Chaos units hard to bump off. While my opponent has left objective 3, I pull in some cavalry to take that from them. Some Forsaken from my opponent coming in. Very nice. Looks like I still have the capture weight. You can see the green arrow there still indicating that is going up. But if I do get into melee, I will suffer there. So Ushopti going down for me over here. Tum Umgard Halberds are both pretty low, and once they go, I'm just going to have big monsters fighting into Halberds, which is not a good trade for me. So, and you can see the objective control is flipping over here, running down some routing units. Nice pick by my opponent. I overextend with some cavalry, and these trolls are definitely going to take these horsemen to Pound Town. That is for sure. And a lot of rallying units that I wasn't able to chase down are coming back onto the objective and gonna do nice work. The mass of the trolls blocking up this Kimrian War Sphinx, at least to a degree, but these halberds are gonna do nice damage. Right now, my opponent's units are all set to trade really well, and the War Sphinx is very low. Miasma of Pestilence lowering its melee attack. My halberds will be fading away any moment, and I start to pull out the big Sphinx, but he is blocked by this one brave troll holding the Sphinx back, keeping him from escaping. I need to notice that and route around him, or he will go down. I drop a Ushopti summon to try and block things up, and I do notice the one troll getting in the way, kind of path my War Sphinx in to try and block these units. So hopefully I can get this guy out of here and keep him in the game. I do capture Objective 3, but my opponent is retaking it, as these Forsaken will bully all my units here, so I can't really contest it too much at the moment, especially these Hellstriders coming in. They have a really good bonus versus large, really good unit, really fast, and they will dominate all of my cavalry here, which I am pulling back. So in response, I do call in one of the best units for the Tomb Kings, possibly an overpowered unit, some claim, the Necrotech. This is a character on a chariot. He has a nice charge bonus, pretty forgettable combat stats, honestly, but where the real sauce is in his items. Restore is a really big heal for constructs. If you do the math on that, it's quite a big percentage heal. And then this item, maybe the best item in the game, Vam Braces of the Sun. When this guy hits a unit, he's going to lower their melee defense and melee attack by 24 and the accuracy. And with his high charge bonus, he's pretty much always going to land a hit on the charge, especially. So these Hellstriders, for example, if we can go on them, 24, 27, these guys will have 0 melee attack when hit by that Necrotech. That is pretty insane. So even though these Hellstriders trade well into these cavalry, even a Skeleton Horse Archer with its measly combat stats will be doing better than these Hellstriders. All right, so back on the other objective, my summoned Ushopti unit did a great job of blocking off these trolls. You can see them trying to push through, and allowed my War Sphinx to get out of there. Valkia chasing after it. Bone Giant did shoot all of his shots. He is out of ammo, so I'm just going to walk him onto the back objective, have him hang out there. Summons for my opponent. Looks like some rallying throwing axes, and he'll need to clean up these Ushopti on the objective and then come over to the middle. Hellstriders taking a lot of damage from the big Sphinx. The guy got the restore, so getting him out of there was pretty clutch. Getting a heal on him. Over here, that debuff is applied to these Forsaken from the Necrotech, so their stats are 8 and 0. Pretty insane. So they'll lose to just about anything, but definitely these anti-infantry armor-piercing Ushopti. On the middle, Hellstriders getting bogged down by Carrion and Horse Archers. Usurians going down on these Hellstriders, along with the Necrotech coming in. And now the Necrotech is on top of Valkia. If it lands a hit, that is going to be a huge stat debuff for Valkia, and she won't be able to evade these attacks anymore from these units. But looks like my opponent does get some Hellstriders in. They are coming with reinforcements. You can see the value is still ahead for my opponent, though the Tomb Kings do have healing in the Realm of Souls system. So it could be pretty even, but there's healing for my opponent too. But that Nurgle kind of, what do you call it, Giver of Abundant Glory is only now really activating. So these trolls will be double healed between their native regeneration and Giver of Abundant Glory. So a lot of healing going to be on them, and they come in. Points are pretty even. This game is still anybody's to win, I think. Oh, but actually, never mind. Valkia getting caught here. That debuff from Vam Braces lowered her stats, so then the big Sphinx getting another heal is gonna come in for the KO, and that is gonna clean up Valkia the Bloody. And with that happening, it's gonna be pretty tough for my opponent to come back. Value is pretty even, so with healing, I might be ahead there. Just trying to dumpster these halberds. They are anti-large, but I figure if I can charge in a bunch of units real fast, especially with that Lord breaking, that adds a -16 leadership effect. if we go onto the right unit. So that's going to make it really easy for them to run. Favor of Ruinous Powers coming in clutch, though, and keeping them in the fight. Try and get some cinematics here of this sick action. Ushopti battling the trolls here. The shrine looking over, calling its troops to glory. I'm trying to keep them in the fight, but it looks like a rout does go down. Terror rout on the Chaos Trolls. Hellstriders coming in, hitting a hit with Usurians, one of the better anti-cav spells in the game. Halberds are on the edge of brinking, and now they've been hit by that blinded effect. Their stats are going to be pretty insignificant, and that is going to be about it. A push over here, actually. I'm coming for objective 2. My opponent going for the full court press, calling in some trolls, some Forsaken, some Marauders. I call in resummon a unit of Halberds. They are going to hold with this Bone Giant. Bone Giants are kind of nice in that they have 3 capture weights. So even after they're done shooting, they have a lot of HP, good capture weight, so they kind of help you hold an objective and chill out. You could unsummon them, but I prefer to keep them around for the capture weight. Aspiring Champions over here, a really cool unit. These guys are elite Warriors of Chaos. They're going to be slapping, but hit again with Blinded. Kind of makes wherever this Necrotech goes, the fight is going to go well for the Tomb Kings. Chaos Sorcerer still bumping, still grinding, still hanging out, but he's on his own now, so not really anything left to heal. Necrotech coming in with his Boop of Doom. There it is, the Boop of Doom, lowering the melee stats just like that. And now this thing is going to get beat up pretty good over here on this objective. Tomb Guard Halberds and Cavalry are gonna hold the line, and that is gonna be it. Well, thanks for watching. Let's check out the value, see which of those melee units did it. You can kind of see they're bouncing around with these big constructs. You don't necessarily need shooting for Tomb Kings. The Bone Giant did okay damage, didn't get its value back. It's mostly just there to shoot a Hell Cannon, an artillery piece for the Warriors of Chaos, which they did not have, so it didn't come up. With these big monsters, 2,100 value there, 3,000. That's really good for that Sphinx. Kotep at 2,000 got about double his value. And let's see how the Halberds did. 1,000 value from this one, really nice. Second one did 400. That's okay, though. One of them getting it evened out between the two of them pretty well. Ushopti did pretty solid, actually. And then this guy, he didn't get too much damage because he came in late, but his debuff was very key. For my opponent, looks like Valkia did pretty good damage, but a lot of that was into the Bone Giant, who didn't really mind, kind of just some acupuncture. Hellstriders did well. Trolls did okay. So that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments or play styles for the Tomb Kings you would like to see covered, let me know down in the comments. And thanks for watching.